A global maker of baby products invents a new product every 12 hours. An automaker owns two of the world's most prestigious luxury car brands and also makes the world's cheapest car. A telecom firm uses a novel distribution channel that achieves near-perfect deliveries without computers. What these three companies have in common is, all are based in so-called rapidly developing economies, and they are putting the world of global business on notice, according to Globality, a new book by Harold Serkin, James Hemmerling, and Arindam Bhattacharya, colleagues from the Boston Consulting Group.
Globality is what comes after globalization. For the last 20 years, we've heard about the global economy emerging. But for the first time, we're seeing it happen. We're seeing companies from India, China, Russia, and Brazil emerging to become real competitors. That's the sign we've entered the era of globality.
It is no secret that a lot of European and American and also Japanese companies are in trouble. And the pressure, the heat, is coming from emerging market multinationals. I think what has taken a lot of us by surprise is the speed at which the process is taking place. So it was to be expected that Indian firms or Chinese firms or Mexican firms would sooner or later become competitive threats. But 5 years ago, nobody was thinking about this.
The global playing field is leveling.
In this report, we examine how the world's largest firms from the most powerful nations are increasingly being threatened by emerging challengers with lower costs, innovative products, and global ambitions. During the earlier phases of globalization, many companies saw going global as a choice. They could make a decision to participate in the phenomenon by operating in low-cost countries, seeking out foreign markets, and availing themselves of global supply chain resources, or not.
Going global is no longer a choice. If you don't capture the low costs, you will be at a significant cost disadvantage. If you don't capture the large markets, you will miss tremendous scale benefits. And if you don't capture the learnings, you will remain behind your competitors. Going global, participating in the world of globality, is no longer a choice. It's a must for survival. A perfect example of a global challenger is Tata Motors. Though the firm had been a huge auto producer in India since the 1960s, few people outside the country gave it much thought. Tata has now developed the Nano car, a $2,500 car that has very few features, but is the world's cheapest car. At the same time, Tata decided it would buy Jaguar and Land Rover from Ford. Tata's further expansion in the automotive business has significant implications for the world's automakers. On the low-end side, you see something that would never have been thought about in either Detroit or Nagoya or Stuttgart. Engineers would never believe you could produce a $2,500 car, but Tata does. On the high end, Tata's new brands, Jaguar and Land Rover, give them the ability to take their production, which is high quality, and produce versions of those cars at substantially lower cost, which will challenge a lot of the high-end automotive manufacturers.
A number of factors created these new competitive pressures. One example is governments that control more than half the world's population have been opening their economies to global competition.
The World Bank called it a sea change in attitudes, and over the course of the late 80s and through the 90s, most developing countries opened up, moved towards market economies by privatizing and deregulating, and really saw that their way to development and growth was to participate in the world economy.
In 1969, the Brazilian government created Embraer to produce aircraft for the military and local airlines.
They were privatized in the 1990s. And again, this is another case of a company that has been learning how to use technology and how to develop it.
Given Brazil's size and distance between cities, regional jets are an ideal mode of transportation, so Embraer became an expert at producing these aircraft.
Airlines love regional jets. They're lower cost because of different work rules. And because they're smaller, they can serve markets that were uneconomical with large jets. On the other hand, passengers generally hate regional jets. They tend to be small, cramped, noisy, and passengers can't get their bags into the overhead bins, which are very small in regional jets. Embraer looked at the problem and said it didn't have to accept these compromises. Because the planes can be redesigned in a different way using their double bubble technology, they can design a regional jet that is as economic for the airlines as the traditional regional jet, but is also much better for passengers.
This is a sophisticated company, obviously in a high-tech field. It is competitive. And of course, sure, it has been subsidized over the years, but so has Bombardier, and so have Airbus and Boeing.
The very obstacles that make it hard to do business in emerging economies can actually create competitive advantage for the firms who learn to overcome the obstacles, Professor Guillen has found.
It's good preparation for life. It builds character. But most importantly, it makes you essentially look for a, efficient solution to whatever problems comes up. Because they were operating in markets or in countries in which the transportation system wasn't good, you couldn't get the supplies on time, you wouldn't be able to find the appropriate suppliers, so you would need to look for them. You wouldn't be able to find enough managers. So these are companies that have learned the hard way how to run a business. And so when they enter developed markets where everything is easy, then of course they win big because they've learned how to be very efficient in all of these other institutional contexts in which life is much, much harder. Another very important part is that, or component of their advantages or their strategy, is that they have developed the ability to come up with products or services for niches in the market. And they know how to move very fast from product design into product development and then manufacturing and distribution. And I think this has become a key advantage.
An example is Good Baby, a Chinese producer of children's toys and baby products. In 1989, a school headmaster used a small bank loan to turn an ailing tool factory into a baby stroller manufacturer that has for years produced low-cost strollers for the world market. The company sells more than 1,600 items in 15 categories, including strollers, beds, clothing, car seats, toys, and diapers.
Good Baby is an innovation machine. It creates a new product every 12 hours. That's more than 700 products each year. Good Baby, although based in China, has tailored its products to meet the needs of local consumers. So if you were to find a Good Baby stroller in Scandinavia, it would have that beautiful, sleek Scandinavian design. When you go buy a Good Baby stroller in Japan, it does exactly what the Japanese want. It folds up to the smallest possible space. And when you buy a Good Baby stroller in the United States, it looks more like an SUV. It's large and has plenty of room for cup holders.
No doubt that the multinationals that bought expensive strollers from faraway China and rebranded them for sale in Europe and the US never imagined what a global powerhouse they were helping to create.
The Challengers are growing very quickly. Over the last 3 years, the Challengers have grown at an average rate of 30% per year, which is more than 3 times the speed of some of the fastest growing companies in the developed world. In spite of their rapid growth, the Challengers are very profitable. Their average profitability in 2006 was 17%, while the average profitability for the S&P 500 companies was only 14%.
The job of the CEO, the job of the corporate strategist, I think has become even more complex because now you have to gather information from many more places around the world. And you've got to do it fast because some of these companies are growing very quickly to become major competitors in their respective industries.
These emerging challengers and others like them are successfully selling to competitive global markets, but they also have an edge when it comes to selling on their home turf. The challengers are in a better position to understand the local environment, culture, and consumers, and the ins and outs of reaching them. For example, Bharti Airtel, an Indian mobile phone operator, found an ingenious way to distribute SIM chips and prepaid phone cards to its customers in the city of Mumbai. The company created a delivery system by tapping into the existing network of some 5,000 Dabawallas or lunchbox carriers. These couriers deliver thousands of hot meals every day from the homes of workers in the distant suburbs to their offices downtown without mixing up or losing a meal, and then return the utensils to the workers' homes in the afternoon. The reliability of these couriers without using any computers exceeds that of 6 Sigma, and they keep the cost of their service low by using public transportation. Now, along with curries and naan, the Dabawallas deliver phone cards and SIM chips. Exciting new solutions to the developed world's biggest problems are also coming from unexpected places, even in healthcare. Aravind Eye Care in Tamil Nadu, India, has become the world's largest provider of cataract surgery, performing over 250,000 surgeries a year. In 1976, Dr. Venkataswamy, known as Dr. V, began pursuing a goal of wiping out needless blindness.
Well, Dr. V and Arvind looked at the world very differently as I thought about cataract surgery. And rather than a traditional hospital process, in which surgeries begin at about 7 o'clock in the morning and the equipment only operates till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they decided that they should take advantage of the availability of equipment 24 hours a day. And so they've changed the entire process of surgery. And in cataract surgery, they operate an assembly line. And the patients stay still, but the doctors move from bed to bed, doing exactly what they need to do at that point in time. And interestingly enough, Arvind Eye Care sells its product for about 40% of what it might cost in the United States. Gives away 60% of its products, that is, it gives free surgeries to 60% of the patients that it sees, and still makes a profit. This ingenious approach by Arvind and Dr. V allows them to cure hundreds of thousands of people of needless blindness, many of those who got that surgery for free.
Globality will affect everyone, everywhere, and everything. And that means you. One day, it may be your company that Tata Group wants to acquire, your child calling home from Shanghai, your job moving to Mexico City, and your brand new nano car gleaming in the driveway. And if you learn to compete with everyone from everywhere for everything, you might find Globality offers you greater opportunities than you could have ever imagined.